Yeah, so I understand the city developmental timeline vis-a-vis political parties' tenure is, there's a mismatch between that. But can strategic policies not be cyclic? Can we not put something in rolling motion today that has a cascading effect and it cannot be curbed, or it cannot be
Yeah.
in a way, it ultimately forces itself to reach somewhere after 15 years or 20 years. I don't know. Ravi, would you care to comment?
Yeah, so we do have lots of issue in India if we see, like, because of the population bundle what we have with us in our backpack, uh, and the taxpayers and all this. The economical calculation is not LHS is equal to RHS. So of course it is bound to happen that we'll have some certain issues related to the visible development ultimately. Quite natural. But what I have observed, like, even I've worked on master plans of many Indian cities, not A cities, but B and C and D cities, also the small towns as well. Uh, and what I've observed that even from the previous government, there have been many urban renewal schemes, and I think we are into that transformational phase right now, and we are just going through that path. Of course, as Swapnil said, that we have missed that bus, but I think that we still try to catch this bus, maybe in let's say late, the 20s or somewhere in between. Uh, there are master plans being made for like almost cities, be the population of 5,000, or let's say if it goes till 1 crore. Uh, Again, we are on track, but it takes time, and we have this revision of all these things. If you talk about the master plans, what have been done by the government, like that JNNRM which came previously, Jawaharlal Nehru Renewal Urban Renewal Mission. So it focused on infrastructure majorly, and this time when we had smart cities, I don't know how smart it was, but the idea was to focus on the beautification of cities. Rather, this is what I have understood. I worked on smart cities as well on the same time, and is this and they were smart enough to reuse the spaces which were there. So what you call it, the adaptive reuse of the spaces. So there were many spaces, public buildings available in lot many cities which were proposed in this government initiative. So I'm not so much critic about the government, whatever be the government, because the way I started, that we have a lot of lot in our backpack, and the tax and economics and the people dependent on all five of us as of now is totally different as compared to the people who are in majority who are going to use it.
Mm-hmm.
So the positivity, of course, is expected in this scenario, and of course, we need to be patient for the same, because this will take some time. And again, I'll try to add a Rudraksha point here, that this is a place where all the stakeholder of the society need to come up. We can come, and we can definitely make some changes. Privatization, of course, is one more thing. So we are having some visible changes in terms of experience and many other things. But I don't know much about the public spaces, that how we can actually take privatization and have good public spaces, like on city levels, not for the, let's say, a regional, for example, an airport, but for a smaller sense. Because of course, as sir said earlier, that revenues and the economic balance of such projects does matter in this way. So these can be few takeaways, but of course we should not lose faith the way things are going as of now in India. IAS are good, intelligent and smart enough. Even many architects and planners have actually inspired a lot to appear for the UPSC exams. I know at least four of them. I don't know whether they cleared it or not, but the inspiration is there in people, and of course the place, Uh, I'm sorry, I just lost the way in this between. Okay, so taking further, adding to this, this is where I was focusing on. That we are on track as of now, even we have
So,
lost
so,
the. Yes,
so,
okay.
so I like the optimism, and I hope it is at a broader level. It is there. And I also understand one very critical aspect that you're talking about. See, five of us and the impact of the end user, and the end user is, the 80-85% of the people who are brimming the poverty line, and that was one more very interesting aspect. We're talking about 18 years ahead. We are looking at maybe the rural becoming the suburban and the suburban becoming the urban, and And if the rural is becoming suburban, most of Europe is suburban. There's nothing rural there anymore. So how would it impact the country? We were predominantly a agrarian country post independence, and that was fundamental. That is a fundamental way of life, and we are moving into a more urban setup. And our urban centers were centralized but are increasing in number, and there is going to be decentralization, and ultimately our rural setups will become suburban setups. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I honestly do not think that our villages are going to turn into suburbs. Uh, and I believe that there are already policy interventions that would stop that from happening. See, the
Okay.
first thing that is bound to happen is that the number of people who are dependent on agriculture per se for their livelihood will go down. There is no question of small land holdings that we have now being able to sustain anyone. I think the big problem that happened, and this is slightly a problem that happened probably 30, 40 years pre independence while the industrial revolution was happening in Europe, is that parallel industries that used to run in our villages slowly disappeared. So you now have a farmer or you become a factory worker in a large factory. There is nothing in between. I believe that is going to change. I mean, the way the funding is happening on startups for technology, and by technology, I don't mean creating apps for this and that. There are genuine technological
Yeah, yeah.
startups and investors who are there. As the small industry comes back, you will find that there is lesser need for a person to move out of his small farmstead and into a slum in some city. Uh, if you look at the numbers between last year and this year, we have this very shameful visuals of people with little thalas on their head and kids on their shoulders walking thousands of miles back. All of them have not come back. I mean, they are in the industry. You know it. Every single site that you have today, which is open and working, is facing a labor shortage. There is bound to be a differentiation and a shift towards technology on construction also to reduce the number. And these people have not gone back and just sort of decided to become farmers. There is something that's going to happen in between, and I believe that that's really what is going to allow them to stay where they are. And I think that the other thing that is really important is the kind of communication we put out. And I'm going to take just 1 minute. We've mentioned, Swapna especially has mentioned some of the European cities. One of the standard aspects of these European cities is that the private ownership of houses is very small. When I say not from the standard of ownership, but for the size of ownership. Your apartment is 60 square meters, 70 square meters, 80 square meters. And if you have a 100 square meter apartment, you're like really rich and you spend millions of dollars. The reason why you've done that is that the moment you step out of your doorstep, there is a usable space and you don't really need to invite people. In the last 40, 50, 60 years, it's been the opposite. I need a big drawing room. It must have a big sofa. I should be able to invite all my friends home and sit out because you know what? I don't have a place to go out in. So I think these two, if we are able to communicate, if is as a professional group, if we bring out this communication that you actually don't need a large drawing room, you can have it if you can afford it. But for your MP large scheme, the guy who's your MP who's spending money on quote unquote urban development, send him photographs of what you want: sidewalks, trees, watering points, ability of businesses to open up, and it has happened in South Delhi. Like the South Delhi Municipal Corporation, after years of fight, has declared last year that if you have a house, you can use it for a business by doing a certain amount of conversion charge. It's taken the entire inspector Raj out of it. Nobody can walk into your office and say, oh, it's a commercial development in a bedroom. So I think these are communication aspects of our profession where we need to keep talking more and more and more and more till there is a critical mass developed of enough number of youngsters, people, middle-aged guys sending WhatsApp messages to their MP on the MP lards or their local area development scheme funds saying sidewalk is broken, I want a sidewalk, doesn't exist, I want a sidewalk. Why are you cutting down trees and in under the name of development? I want that tree to stay. Tell me what you're doing around it. And this communication needs to be very very wide. So I think there is layering of what we need to do, saving the fabric of what we have in urban areas, allowing livelihoods to develop in rural areas, and then also not saying that भैया तुम एक और एक दिल्ली बना दो, make it better. The Chandigarh and the replication of Chandigarh in Punjab and Haryana, famous story. Everybody knows what small towns in these states look like, etc. But I believe communication at a professional level, really what we want to communicate, that's the leadership that we need. the communication leadership of what the people should really be assigned to.
This is a very interesting new dimension that you've added to my understanding. So I was not aware of how there could be an insert of something in the rural sector apart from it aspiring to become suburban. And it'll be very interesting if by 2040 our rural areas are able to evolve into more evolved rural areas itself.
So,
So,
Ruraj, can I add on to this? See, there is a new trend which is currently being seen. What we are seeing is there are 30 million people who have been added to the people below the poverty line. There are 30 million people due to this pandemic. Now, when there are a lot of HNIs who have started migrating themselves to their second homes, which are in rural locations, and they want to continue. I have seen people who have become uh, who are running their businesses for last more than a year from those locations, and they have adapted. They are doing it very successfully. So there is a great new germ of idea which is generating in the urban population also, that if somebody else can do it at a corporate level, why can't an entrepreneur also move in that fashion? Because everybody is looking for space in urban areas, in urban environment. You don't have space to move out. Today we are in lockdown. Fortunately, we as an architect, we have some space under the pretext of construction. That section, whatever is available under lockdown, we can go to our sites. But otherwise, people are there locked in their rooms and not being able to walk, hardly go for the groceries and all. That's something which is, as I earlier started, is killing ourselves. So I have a feeling that there might be a lot of positive urban rural development also which might happen in that manner, and lots and lots of people also have realized. So I know couple of families who have been doing that. बोलते सर नहीं आएगा बॉम्बे, हम नहीं आ पाएगा. बोले क्यों? तो बोले कितना? बोले सर वहाँ पे जाके खेती तो करेगा, हमारा तो दिन साल भर का राशन तो निकल आता है हमारा. जो दाल चावल चाहिए हमको, गेहूँ चाहिए, वो हमको मिल जाते हैं. So that is the kind of understanding which their thought process which few of the people who have migrated back from urban environment to the rural environment have it. But I'm not really sure how far it is going to last. If this can last uh, for a longer time, I think so there would be a reverse, and we will see a good development of agricultural activity also in time to come. Yes, the smaller farmer is either will have to work for the larger organization or corporates, or he will not be able to survive. That is something which is likely to happen in future. Uh, Apart from that, there is one more important thing which is there. If you currently see in and around probably Delhi and even in Mumbai, आपका आपके वहाँ फार्म हाउसेस पहले वहाँ एक्चुअल में खेती होती थी, आज शादियाँ हो रही हैं दिल्ली में. हमारे मुंबई में जितनी भी, so for example, you go to Navi Mumbai, there is no more agricultural activity which is happening. But if you go to just a 5 kilometers ahead to Panvel and beyond Panvel, you will find there are a lot of agricultural land, but people are not doing it. They are selling it to the urban environment because that's a development which is happening, and they find it much more lucrative in that way. So what is reducing the green belt, which is reducing, they it will have to get converged. Otherwise, we will have to. The time is not too far off that we will become dependent on the on the people who are. We will have to start importing basic fundamental our needs and amenities like गेहूं चावल दाल चावल हमको import करने पड़ेंगे.
I would like to add a small
so
thing in this.
very interesting. Yeah, please.
Yeah. So, so this pandemic was had just become a trouble in paradise for urbanization, I would say. And before this, the way we were going by 2040s, were like every out of every 10 people on globe, 6 would be living in urban areas. And the time when we
Mhm.
take this term urban, it is very much responsible for the GDP, whatever we produce. Of course, it's the development is very much indirectly proportional to the rural development on same time. But as Sir was saying, I would like to suggest that we should have further innovation in the way the agriculture takes place, being the primary industry of our country. uh, how the aspirations for people should actually change, cause I was talking to a guy from a village nearby in Rajasthan. He do hold a prominent position in his village, so socially, the strength what he have, but the aspirations what he and his kids have are very much urban in nature, very much modern.
Hmm. Hmm.
So this guy is here, though he hold a land of 70 acres there for farming, but the aspirations are totally different, and here he's a watchman of a building. So the social role is has drastically changed the time he shifted. And on the same time, when I was talking about the aspiration, his sons like to sit outside the mall and have that feeling of urban areas, what the social feelings what we have the time when you are there in a large city from a village. uh, so this is a place where we need to have certain innovations. We need to allow new ideas to take up for development, and the technique, the way farming or the rural areas are actually being taken by this time. So they emerge in a better way. So we don't call them rural in future. This is what I feel, but developed rather.